discounting your own power to heal, your responsibility, and simply waiting for a diagnosis if you are dealing with any kind of undiagnosed autoimmune disease is what I find the number one mistake that most people make when it comes to getting better. And I completely understand, because I made the same mistake when my daughter was seriously ill several years ago, and she went through a lot of pain and suffering for it, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. My name is Anindita. I am a functional medicine certified health coach. I am also a functional medicine practitioner, AFMC practitioner, and I help women with undiagnosed autoimmune diseases get better by easing their pain, reversing their symptoms using a body-guided approach, which means they tune in to their own body's wisdom. So, today I just wanted to hop in today and talk about why, when we don't embrace our power to create a healing environment, to support our body's healing process, we are actually in for a lot of pain, in for a lot of suffering, because we are simply at that time banking on getting a diagnosis, and we are simply chasing a diagnosis. And of course, I completely understand and appreciate that we need to know, what we are going through. In our case, we knew that my daughter had eczema. In many cases in autoimmune diseases, it takes months, years, and in fact several decades for people to get a diagnosis. And we would like to know what is happening. We would like to put a name to it so that we can get a treatment, so that we can start getting better. Unfortunately, that's not exactly how many of these multifactorial, complex, chronic diseases work. Just by knowing the name is not enough. So while I am not advocating that you do not look for a diagnosis, because getting a diagnosis means that you get the right treatment, and in many cases it means it is life-saving. It means that you prevent further tissue damage, further organ damage, which is completely essential, while at the same time when you are making lifestyle changes, dietary changes, etc. And that's exactly what I do with my own clients. It's never an either-or situation. But the mistake that I find most people make is that they are unaware that just waiting is never going to be the answer. Just knowing the name of the disease is never going to help them get better. Only that is not the solution. Knowing what your body needs from you, knowing how to support your body's healing is what is finally going to help you address the root causes, address the underlying imbalances, any nutrient deficiencies, and all of these are usually at the root of any of these kind of autoimmune conditions. And it's only after changing our approach and supporting our body's healing process that in my daughter's case, she started getting better. So she went through, because at the beginning, I made the same mistake, right? I did not really try to find out what was going on. I was simply completely focused on figuring out which were the right treatments for her, which were the right medications for her, right? That's all I knew. And I never stopped to ask, why did she have this problem, or what does she need to get better, without relying only on medications, because at that time I was not even aware that these medications were only managing her symptoms. They were not actually doing anything at the root level for her, right? It was not going to address the all the different imbalances, etc., that were at the root. In her case, it was gut health, and it was never going to help with that. So I made this mistake myself, and it was only when we started removing the triggers, when we started addressing her deficiencies, when we actually worked on her gut health and on her mental and emotional health, all of it, actually makes up a human being, right? You're not made of discrete body parts or standalone organs. You are one whole person. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your mental, emotional and physical well-being are completely intertwined, interconnected. They are So if something is happening in your physical body, that affects your mental health. If something is happening to your mental health, emotional health, that's going to affect your physical body. So all of it has to be actually tackled at the same time, and it's it can be done in a very beautiful and gentle and healing manner, which is exactly what I do in my coaching. And one of the ways that that works really well is learning how to tune into your own intuition, tuning into your own body, understanding where your what are the areas that you need to prioritize, and that can only happen by actually tuning out all the external noise and becoming very attuned to what your body is trying to tell you. So I call this approach, this is actually forms one of the 3 pillars in my coaching program. So body acceptance is one of the main pillars, self-care and interconnectedness are the 2 other pillars of my coaching program. And in this body acceptance, we make our body our friend. That's when we actually start listening, that's when we start paying attention, we start showing compassion, gratitude, all of which have a huge impact as to how we stand up for ourselves, for our own healing, for our own bodies. And we don't only bank on external sources and external information, right? So we use the best of both. So while we also look at the experts who are going to give us the guidance for treatments, for medications, which are completely necessary in many cases, especially in complex cases, serious chronic illnesses like autoimmune diseases. However, at the same time, we don't only rely on that, because that's never going to really give you the answers that you were looking for. It's never going to actually get you better, in a way that is actually health creating rather than disease management. That's the difference between the 2, and it's a world of a difference. But when you start accepting your body, when you use a body guided approach, which is the approach that I take in my practice, you see that the things change, because then you know what your body needs, you know what you need to do over a period of time. It may not happen overnight if you have been disconnected from your body for a while, and that's exactly what we start with body acceptance. Because what happens is that when we start dealing with these kind of health issues, and particularly where autoimmune diseases are concerned, we come to a point where we start feeling angry at ourselves, our bodies, our immune system, because all we know is that for some reason, and maybe for no rhyme or reason whatsoever, our immune system has betrayed us, and in so many ways our body has betrayed us, right? And it hurts, it makes us angry, and it keeps us stuck. So I want you to know that there is another way, and that way is to support your body the way that it needs your support. It's a way of treating a friend who is in need of your help, a friend who is also in pain, who is suffering, and in the same way that you would approach that friend's pain is how you approach your own suffering. And it starts with accepting your body as it is today. And again, there are various ways I do that, but today it was just about sort of trying to explain why we need to move away from completely relying on external sources, external guidance when it comes to dealing with any kind of autoimmune disease, or especially when we are only chasing a diagnosis. And we need to also look at a way of using our body as a way to guide us. And there are ways that we can tune into our body's wisdom, because what happens is that that's when you realize the power that your body truly has to heal. Sometimes we need to support it with the right nutrients, we need to support it with maybe supplements, with stress management techniques. There's so many areas that we need to focus on. At other times, I find that sometimes we need to just simply step out of its way. It knows what it needs to do, and we just need to step out of its way to let it do the work, right? It will be different for each person, but that's how it works. And then what happens is that this gives us the power, because the first thing that goes away when we only rely on external approach, external guidance, is that we become disempowered, we feel helpless, we feel overwhelmed. And when we start accepting responsibility for our own healing, we get that power back. As far as my own experience is concerned, there were some very important lessons that I learned during those difficult years. And one of the things was that, it was so important to trust our own body, right? If I had learned to pay attention to all the signs, there were so many signs along the way, right? Reading the signs is a very important skill that we need to develop. We have this skill when we are very young children, right? We know when we are hungry, we know when we are tired, we can go to sleep anytime, anywhere, when we are very young children. Of course, as we grow older, society, routine, a lot of other things sort of takes over all of this. And when we become adults, we become more and more disconnected, usually from our own bodies, from what our body needs. And that's not the case, right, when we are very young kids. So I want you to, go back to that kind of a connection, that kind of a bond, where we can read the signs. And in our case, I simply did not realize how to stop the deterioration in my daughter's health, because I didn't know how to read the signs, right? And while we waited for some treatment or the other to work, she kept getting sicker and sicker. And that's exactly what I don't want to happen to you. Or if it's something that you're already dealing with, I want you to know there is another way. Because what I find is that, especially for those who are living with an undiagnosed autoimmune disease, that they know that they may have one and do not know which one they have, this is really, really common, right? They get sicker and sicker as they simply wait, because they're asked to wait for a diagnosis. They are asked to wait for the test results to come back, and then some comes back inconclusive, and they get more frustrated, they are scared, worried, and just waiting, right? Waiting and getting sicker and sicker, because the symptoms become worse and worse. The number of symptoms keep increasing. So all of this is a very common, unfortunate, but common reality for so many people who are simply waiting to be diagnosed today. So don't discount, so in summary, this is what I wanted to share with you, that don't discount your own power to heal, your own responsibility towards yourself, towards your body. And don't simply chase the diagnosis at the cost of your health, right? Find ways to tune in to your body, find ways to tune in to, to find ways to read your body's signal. And it has to start by accepting your body as it is today, rather than, believing that it is some kind of betrayal, that your immune system has gone berserk or rogue. That's actually not the case. And I talk about it in many of my live sessions. It's simply reacting, it's simply responding to the environment that you're living in currently. It's your responsibility to find ways to change that, to create a healing environment where your body, your immune system feels safe, where it can start to let its guard, it to start to tone down its immune response, right? That's what you need to focus on. And that cannot happen when you're only focusing on external guidance. You're only focusing on external validation. Only focusing on it's not going to help you. Only getting the name of your disease is not going to help you with that. Both are equally important. So I am, and I know that this is a slow journey. This is a long process. It takes a while to get there. And as I mentioned, that this is one of the 3 pillars of my coaching program. In fact, body acceptance is one of the most, I would believe, one of the most important pillars of my coaching program. Self-care is the other one. Interconnectedness is the other one. So this is something that I really focus on, because it helps people to tune into their body's wisdom. And and it takes a toll on us, right? It takes a toll on us mentally, emotionally, physically. Of course, we know what we are going through, all the symptoms. And accepting our body, the emotional pain that we have to live with. It's not just the physical pain. Of course, the physical pain is a big part of our symptoms. Exhaustion is a big part, and so many other symptoms are, of course, come along with it. But I think the emotional pain is something that does not get addressed, which is why I have chosen to create a workshop which is coming up in end of this month, which is about taking care of your mental health when you're dealing with an undiagnosed autoimmune disease. It's going to be a 2-hour workshop. It's completely free. I want to provide you with some of the tools that I actually take my clients through in my own coaching program. I think you might, a lot of focus there's a lot of focus on the diet, there's a lot of focus on gluten-free diet and this and the treatments and with symptoms and gut health. But I think what gets missed in all of this, I find often, is the emotional pain that people deal with. And believe me, this is something, we've seen as a family when my daughter went through this, so I understand completely. And when we need to focus on this as well, and it's not about ignoring the negative emotions, whether it's frustration, whether it's anger, whether it's the overwhelm, whether it's the fear, the worry, right? There's so many emotions that we go through which you don't know how to process. So either we tend to completely dissociate from them, neglect them, try and avoid them, or we can take it out on our loved ones, on ourselves, or just bottle them in. There's so many things. So learning how to deal with these emotions, learning how to take care of our mental health is a big part of the healing process. And I completely believe that learning how to you can actually, if you learn how to deal with your emotions, and it can help you to deal with the daily stress of living with this kind of a disease, right? Even as you find ways to get better. So in this 2-hour workshop, I'll be sharing some tools, some resources to help you do that. The link is in the bio, so make sure that you sign up for it. And I will see you here again soon. If there are any questions, if you're watching it on replay, make sure that you drop in the comments below. Aisha, welcome. If you have any questions, I'll just take a minute to give you a time to ask me. Is there anything that you would like to ask? Thank you for joining. Otherwise, anyone watching this, if you're watching this on replay, make sure that you just drop it in the comments below, right? I'll be happy to answer your questions. And yeah, thank you for being here.